Forming new habits used to be very hard for me. Remembering what to do and when to do it was a struggle, and that made it hard to track my progress. I felt like I was going backward instead of forward, which made me feel bad about myself all the time. If you're in a similar spot and you're struggling to build habits, then this video will help you. I'm going to explain to you why you're getting the results you're currently seeing and how to get the results you want with the framework that I'm going to lay out for you. And I will also show you at the end how to make your own habit tracker in a bullet journal. This is the method that helped me go from barely checking any habits back in November to almost completely filling out my habit tracker in April. So there are three main benefits of habit tracking. One, it serves as a visual reminder to do the thing. Two, it reflects Newton's first law of inertia. Once you start making progress, the momentum encourages the discipline to keep going. You don't want to break that streak. And thirdly, as Ali Abdaal would put it, tracking your progress provides you tangible evidence that you are moving towards your goals, leading to a sense of satisfaction. Tracking your habits will help you identify what areas you're falling behind in and how to adjust for better results. You are, in a way, celebrating your wins, even if that win is just an X on a piece of paper. To put it plainly, tracking your habits is just a great way to stick to them. It motivates you to get started with the habit, to keep going with the habit, and discourages breaking that streak, all while visualizing your progress over a long period of time. Like I said, I have evidence of my growth all the way from back in November, and I can look at it now and see how far I've come. So for those of you that don't know what a habit tracker is, it's just a simple way to measure whether you did a habit or not by noting it down on something like a calendar, a notebook, or on a digital spreadsheet. Every day you do the habit, you would just cross off that day on your tracker, logging your progress. So for example, if I exercise on Tuesday and Thursday this week, then I would cross those days off on my habit tracker in the dedicated spot. Personally, I use a physical bullet journal to track my habits, but it's completely up to you what type of habit tracker you want to do this with. I've done it with a digital spreadsheet before, and I also have a calendar on my wall. It really all comes down to personal preference. A bullet journal is great for this because you can easily set up spaces for all your habits and divvy up the days and weeks as needed. I learned how to set up the method that I use for habit tracking by Ryder Carroll, who's the founder of the bullet journal method, and he has a short video explaining how to do it, but I will also show you in the end how to set up a habit tracker just like mine. And if you want a digital one, I have one inside of the Purpose Planner, which is my productivity method designed to help you create your own clarity. It's a Notion template, that link in the description if you want that. But again, it's up to you, whatever you want to do this with. But before we can actually complete the setup of our habit tracker, we have to actually decide what habits we want to cultivate. And you probably already have a pretty good idea of what you want to do. So the 5 habits that I'm currently focusing on are meditation, stretching, exercise, reading, and push-ups. Now for some people, this amount may seem daunting. You don't need to focus on 5 different habits at once. You may be better off starting with 1 or 2 habits to focus on every day. Now step 1 of just defining the habit is where most people stop, and this is why most people struggle to build habits. When I first started trying to build good habits, I simply couldn't make them stick, no matter how much I reminded myself that I should do them. And there were 3 reasons for my lack of progress. 1, I didn't clearly define the habit. 2, I didn't clearly determine when and where I was going to do the habit. And 3, I didn't track my progress, leaving no room for improvement. If you don't know exactly what you're going to be doing, that leaves room for uncertainty. And uncertainty is what drives us to procrastinate and gives us feelings of anxiety, making us avoid doing the habit altogether. You can create some clarity around each habit by using implementation intentions. Implementation intentions are similar to an if-then statement, but a little bit different. If you've taken any kind of CS class, you know what I'm talking about. In coding, you have to be very clear about what you want the program to do. Otherwise, it might not do exactly what you want, or it just won't work at all. The more detail you add, the better. For example, I will exercise is a lot more ambiguous than I'm going to the gym and doing 25 minutes on the treadmill. The latter breeds clarity by specifying what action you're going to take. The former leaves room for uncertainty. Similarly, if you don't define when you're going to do the habit, it's unlikely to be done. In Feel Good Productivity, Ali Abdaal mentions this. If you don't know when you're doing something, chances are you won't do it. So to further clarify your habit, you can specify at which point in day you're going to perform it. In our gym example, it would look something like this. I will go to the gym and use the treadmill for 25 minutes after my latest class every day. When we started, all we had was I will exercise. Now we know exactly what the habit is, when we will perform it, and where we will perform it. When you do this, you no longer need to think about when you'll do it. You just do. But we aren't done yet. we can still further increase the likelihood that we will perform the habit by attaching an identity to it. If you label yourself as bad with names, you will be bad with names. If you label yourself as out of shape, you will stay out of shape. If you label yourself as a failure, you will always fail. Be careful what you label yourself. You will fulfill whatever prophecy you believe. Even if you aren't currently where you want to be, you have to adopt the identity of someone who is in order to get there, because that is the type of person who would do that habit. The person who is bad with names will never be good with names. Only the person who is good with names will be good with names. The person who is out of shape will never get in shape. Only the athlete will get in shape. You see what I'm getting at here? You ever heard of the phrase, your new life is gonna cost you your old one? This is what it's talking about. James Clear puts this perfectly. The ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say that I'm the type of person who is this. I made a video that people really liked called, This is Why You Can't Change, about this topic. You can watch that right here. We can use the power of identity by attaching it to our desired habit. So let's continue our example of exercise. That student should adopt the identity of someone who is already in shape. That would be an athlete. So now we can turn this into, I will go to the gym and use the treadmill for 35 minutes after my latest class every day because I want to be an athlete. But there's still something missing. Instead, let's say I will go to the gym and use the treadmill for 25 minutes after my latest class every day because I am an athlete. A slight difference, but powerful. Now you are adopting the identity of someone who does that thing, not someone who wants to do the thing. Because you've been wanting to change your life for a long time now, but you haven't yet because you aren't that type of person. We think that in order to change our life, we must change our habits, but it's quite the opposite. We have to change our life in the way we see ourselves first, and the habits will follow. The decision to be better comes first. Then we get better. So make these implementation intentions for each one of your habits. Now, once you have them written down, we can start working on our habit tracker. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to actually make this habit tracker inside of a bullet journal. So as you can see, I already wrote down May at the very top here, and I wrote down the amount of days in each square. So there's 31 days in May. So next to that, right next to the numbers, you would write down the actual days of the week. So May 1st was a Wednesday, so I'll start from there. We have the days mapped out now, and another thing you can do is to write lines in between Saturday and Sunday just to kind of divvy up the week and make it a little bit more clear. This is optional, but I like to do it. Right, then after you have those, we want to actually write down our habits at the bottom to make a key. So for me, I'm focusing on meditation, stretching my upper body, stretching my lower body, exercising, reading, and doing push-ups. So those are the things I'm focused on for this month. So I'm gonna write them down here. So I would just write M for meditation, stretching. I would just write S for stretching, another S right here for stretching. And then I will write exercise, then reading, then push-ups. So P for push-ups. So this will act as our key. So that would just be meditate. So it's optional from this point on what you want to do. You can write the full thing, the full statement that we wrote down earlier, the whole implementation intention. I'm not going to do it because this one is quite small, and I actually have it written down in a separate journal. Well, actually, I have it written down in a separate journal, my habits that I'm focusing on. And I look at this often, so I don't really need to have it written down, but it's completely up to you whether you want to do that. I'm just going to write down the actual habits here. And again, you can go into detail about everything that's there. It's completely up to you whether you want to write the full thing or not, but I have a pretty good idea of what I need to do, and I also look at the habits every single day in the morning. So completely up to you. And then the spot that you actually track the habits is right over here. So you're gonna actually come over here and then write the key again. Pretty much you're gonna be tracking your habits going along with each day. So if I meditated on Wednesday the 1st, then I'm just gonna write an X here or a check mark, whatever you want to do. Maybe you could do a check mark, right? So, and I did all these. So you can write that, it's completely up to you. And then another way to kind of keep it a little more organized is, again, have those lines. So you just want to line it up, and then you can separate the weeks here. That way it's not just a bunch of empty space, and you can have a good idea of how well you're doing for each week. Make sure you get the lines right. And another thing that you can do is, let's say that you only plan to exercise for 1 to 3 days a week, for example. Let's just say you exercise for only 3 days a week. So what you could do is that you can actually write dots in the center of these squares, indicating which days you're supposed to be exercising. So on exercising for next week, let's say I wanted to exercise for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So what I can do is I can go into exercise, I can write dots here. That way I know that I'm supposed to be exercising on these days. And then when I cross them out, then it'll be crossed out. And then I can see what day that I was supposed to be exercising, and it doesn't look bad when, there's an empty spot, because you know that you weren't supposed to do it that day. So that's pretty much it for setting up the habit tracker. Another thing you can do is, if you, let's say you have an appointment, like for me, I have an appointment with my dentist on the 22nd, so I can come over here and just write dentist at, what time is it supposed to be at? 3 p.m. So dentist at 3 p.m. And then every day when I check this, it'll just be kind of a reminder. So this can also act as your calendar if you want it to. That's what makes this whole bullet journal system so powerful, is that it's like a full habit tracker. You can see how your week is going so far, what you need to improve on. You can plan things out even all the way to the end of the month to kind of keep yourself even more accountable. Have it as just your calendar that you carry around. This can essentially act almost as like your planner. You can do some stuff over here if you want as well to kind of make it act more like a planner. You can really just design this whatever way you want. I have found that this method works best for me. I like to do it on pen and paper as opposed to doing it on digital, but it's really up to you what you want to do. And in terms of doing it on like a calendar, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It would be the same system. You're just doing it on the actual calendar instead, but it's a little bit different because you would be focusing on maybe one habit or maybe two you can fit on there. It would be kind of difficult. So I'd say the best option is get yourself one of these and just fill it out and just start using this. Start making it a habit. It's weird. Make it a habit to check the habit tracker every single day before you go to sleep. You shouldn't have to struggle with that one, at least. I just, add it to my daily routine that I check every single day. It's just, before you go to bed, have this by your bed every single day. Before you go to bed, make sure to check this, see how well you did, and just check things off, or maybe even check it throughout the day. If it's available to use throughout the day, just check it throughout the day. And another thing you can do is, even as you're doing the habits, like I just meditated before this, so I can check that off. You know what I mean? So it's really up to you how you want to track the habits. Just make sure that you're at least checking it and adding to it once a day, so that way you don't fall behind, because you don't want to be on Friday and then you're trying to figure out if you did Monday's habit. You don't want to do that. You don't want to check it once a week. You probably want to check it once a day, so you remember and you realize how much progress you're actually making, because you might completely forget about it by the time it gets to Friday and you were supposed to do the habit on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're not sure if you did it. So yeah, that is how to set up the habit tracker. So what to do when you fail? The thing about habits is that they aren't habit yet, obviously. Which means you're unlikely to do it every time that you say you will. You may have a good streak for a while, but eventually there will be a day when something gets in the way, or you forgot, or you just don't have the willpower to get it done. Life happens. Don't think of this as failure. Think of it as a learning opportunity. When you miss a day, think of why you missed it and what was the result of you missing a day. You'll be pleasantly surprised to find that not much changes if you don't do anything for just one day. That's not what consistency is about. We discussed this last week, but this tweet by Dickie Bush summarizes this perfectly. It's not how many days in a row you do something. It's about how reliably you get back on track when you inevitably fall off. Missing one day is okay. Don't beat yourself up over ending the streak. Just make sure to start the next streak tomorrow. Approach these new habits with the open-mindedness and humility of a beginner, just like any other endeavor in life. Don't obsess over the numbers. Embracing humility allows you to have a clean slate. It enables you to be more comfortable with missing a day, which, like we talked about, is only detrimental if you don't learn and start again ASAP. By letting go of the need for perfection or keeping a streak for a certain number of days, you relieve yourself from unneeded stress. Replace it with the openness and humility needed for change. And this doesn't mean that it's okay to keep on missing your habits. The goal is to make it a part of your daily routine. The idea is to try not to lean too much on one side or the other. Be hard on yourself and think in the long term to build the discipline required to make new habits, while also having the humility to know that nobody is perfect. Every time you give into a bad habit, you're casting a vote for the type of person that does that thing. Just make sure the other guy gets more votes. If you want help figuring out which habits to focus on, I have a free journaling course called 40 Days to Purpose. It will help you gain direction in life and identify which habits will put you on the right track towards success. If you want help maintaining your habits and staying accountable, I highly recommend you check out my self-improvement community called Apperception Alliance. We're going to be hitting 1,000 members on there pretty soon, so don't be left out. Other paid stuff like the one-to-one coaching and purpose planner and stuff are also available on my website, so check it out. And enjoy your weekend. And remember, purpose is your priority and distraction is your enemy. See ya.